Altra were once a very niche brand in the walking and running industry. However, they've really carved out some great shoes that most people need to know about, and it's not all about zero drop. So first of all, let's talk about one of our favorite shoes released in 2026, and that's the Altra Experience Flow 3. Now there's a number of reasons that I love this, but let's start on top of the shoe. So you've got one of the best toe boxes on the market. So it's what I describe as an anatomical toe box, which allows your toes space to splay and move as they normally should when you're walking barefoot. It's nice and flexible in the forefoot, facilitating a normal gait pattern. And the only caveat is it's a little bit snug in the midfoot and the heel. So if you have a really high instep, this mightn't be ideal for you, but for the majority of the population, the fit should be perfect. And if you are one of those that do need a wide shoe throughout the whole length, we will cover that later on in the video. It's got a nice flexible heel counter, so if you have any sensitivity at the back of the heel, shouldn't be a problem there. The P35 cushioning is a really nice balanced cushioning, so you get plenty of protection underneath your foot, but if you're standing, walking or running. However, it doesn't feel like those max cushion shoes where you're just disjointed from the ground. You get really good ground contact feel and that protection underfoot. There's plenty of grip on the outsole and you get a really natural, neutral feeling walking and running shoe. Now when it comes to walking, it's definitely a shoe that you can use for walking for hours at a time, or if you have a job that involves standing. When it comes to running, it's a shoe for those easy miles, and you can do some of those slightly faster workouts in the shoe because it's incredibly light. In fact, it's the lightest shoe that we're going to talk about today, coming in at 246 grams for a size 9 men's US. So honestly, this shoe is really hard to beat, not only in the Altra lineup, but compared to most other walking and running shoes that have been released so far this year. Then a completely opposite shoe to that is the Altra FWD Via 2. Now this is their max stack option, coming in with 37mm in the rear foot, 33 in the forefoot. So it also has a 4mm drop similar to what we see in the Experience Flow 3. And that makes it really interesting because it feels very different underfoot, and the fact that it's not a zero drop opens it up to a bigger audience. Now the cushioning is firmer than what you get in the Experience Flow 3, and you get a lot more protection underneath your foot. It's a lot more rigid in the forefoot, so that's going to protect those of you with sensitivity in the ball of the foot, or if you're someone with big toe arthritis. Underneath the shoe, we've got excellent durability and grip, and we've got some mild sidewalls on the outside and on the inside of the shoe to try and add extra elements of stability to make up for the fact that you've got lots of cushioning underfoot. And that can inherently make a shoe a little bit more unstable, but that isn't the case with what we found with the FWD Via 2, partly because of that really broad-based support underneath your foot, which increases the amount of contact that you have with the ground. Now on top of the shoe, the fit is different than the Experience Flow 3. We have an extremely wide toe box, we have slightly more volume in terms of height in the toe box, and we have a much wider midfoot. So as a result, it's a bit more accommodating for those of you with a wider foot overall. And if you're unsure of your shoe width and length, we have an easy guide that you can pick up in the description below. Then we've got a nice flexible heel counter as well, and this is the perfect shoe if you need extra protection, extra comfort for those long days on your feet. So it's a perfect walking shoe, and it can be used for those recovery runs, those easier runs. Now just a caveat on the drop, which is a big thing with Altra. Well, if you're not used to having a lower drop shoe, what it does is place extra workload on your calf and your Achilles. So if you're someone who uses a higher drop shoe or more of a max cushion shoe in the past, well then you might need to transition slowly over a 6 to 8 week period where you just gradually introduce the shoes. Think about walking first before you move on to running, just to ensure that you have no issues. If you get any sensitivity in that Achilles and calf, just take a step back until it settles down and then slowly reintroduce them. But honestly, shoes like the Experience Flow 3, once you successfully introduce them, I think there's no looking back from there. Then when we're thinking about more of a classic zero drop shoe in the Altra range, we've got the Altra Escalante 4. This is a really interesting shoe. You can see it's got significantly less cushioning and less than what we have in the Experience Flow 3. However, it is slightly heavier, and that's because it's got a different compound within the midsole, which means that it's slightly denser, slightly firmer underfoot. Now that's important because if you have a really soft, mushy shoe but hardly any cushioning under your foot, it makes it a little bit unstable. By giving you a firmer base like we have in the Escalante, it means that you get a good ground contact feel, but you also get elements of stability. It has that nice broad base, but again the fit is different than the other two shoes. So we have that classic toe box, which gives you loads of space. However, it's got a knit upper compared to the engineered mesh that we saw in the previous two, and therefore the volume is actually quite low. In my opinion, it's actually a little bit too low compared to what we see in the other shoes, and it's lower than what we saw in the Escalante 3. So a bit of a downside with this shoe, but otherwise you've got a nice wrap around the midfoot and the heel, lots of space in that midfoot as well, and you've got quite a flexible forefoot rocker as well. So this is a perfect shoe if you're interested in trialing out zero drop shoes, or if you're interested in transitioning into barefoot shoes. This is a really nice entry option, and we have a video on this which we'll link above, where we discuss the different types of shoes that you could try using if you're interested in moving more towards a minimalist shoe. But finally, an excellent option overall, apart from the volume in the toe box. Cushioning could have a little bit more bounce to it in the next series, and you can use it for walking and standing, probably some very short runs, especially if you're used to more minimalist shoes, but it definitely doesn't pack in any kind of punch or doesn't have any bounce to it if you're looking to do some faster workouts. Then we have more of a stability option in the Altra Paradigm 8. Actually, we really like this shoe. So it provides stability through its guide rail system, which isn't unique, and it's actually very similar to what we see in the Brooks' stability systems. So it's essentially extra stability along the outside and the inside of the shoe that come up quite like what you'd see in a bowling alley when you lift the rails. It's really focused on keeping you centered in the shoe as you move, as opposed to trying to provide some rigid arch support and forcing your foot into one type of motion. So nice and centralized in the shoe, you've got a broad base support and a little bit of sole flare, which is where the sole comes out wider than where your foot sits in the shoe. In addition to that, we've got more rigidity in the heel. Again, it wraps around your ankle, helping to control those pronation moments for those of you who need a bit more control when you're walking and running. And on top of the shoe, we've got that perfect Altra anatomical fit, lots of volume in the toe box, plenty of space in the midfoot if you've got a higher instep, or you've got a flatter foot that spreads out. You're going to be accommodated both in the toe box and in the midfoot in this type of shoe. Now, the cushioning in this shoe is the Ego Max. Again, it's not the most responsive cushioning compared to the P35 in the Experience Flow 3. However, what you're getting is a very solid option underfoot. It's not extremely light, not extremely bouncy, and it's quite a traditional midsole when it comes to that matter. However, you can use it as a walking shoe, a shoe for standing all day if you work in like hospitality or as a teacher, and it does an excellent job of providing modern day stability for those of you that need it. Let me know your thoughts on all these shoes in the comment section below. Have you tried them out, or are you interested in any of Altra's other range, as we've tested most of them? If you're interested in the shoes, there's links in the description below. And don't forget, if you need to check out what your actual shoe width is so you know what type of shoe you need, there's a link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching once again.